Change is uncomfortable. It's scary because it's filled with all the unknown. The unknown is so unsettling to us because there's nothing tangible we can use to prepare for and understand it. But if we think about it, we've been able to handle the unknown for our entire lives. Anything that has come at us, good or bad, was once part of the unknown, and you handled it. You're still standing. You made it through. So why is more change scary? Why is there this stigma around change that makes us so uneasy? Welcome to week 1 of our new series, Transitions. Throughout our entire lives, we go through transitions, and sometimes we don't like them. When I was a senior in high school, my parents had just divorced, my brother was moving to college, and I was getting ready to graduate myself. That was a lot of change, especially for someone who didn't like change. At that age, having divorced parents meant moving between houses, having separate holidays, basically not having a singular place to resort to for rest, and that scared me. I'm someone who needs something to ground me, but during that time when I really didn't know what to call home, my brother was leaving, everything was changing, I sort of lost myself. My depression was the worst it has ever been. I was failing school. I hated going to practice, which I used to love. It was like my brain couldn't keep up with all the transitions happening at the same time. On top of that, I went to a high school where deciding on which college you were going to was a huge deal. But I wasn't going to college, which everyone and their mother seemed to question me on, making me even more nervous for what was to come next in my life. I remember thinking that once I walk off that graduation stage, I better have something figured out because this change has the potential to be a rough one. Nobody at that point in my life had the responsibility of staying in my life. My friends were all going to different schools. My teachers didn't have to keep track of me anymore. I had to figure things out for myself, but not all by myself. Around that time, I was sitting in Mass listening to the message from Father Michael, and he said something that triggered me to rethink all this change that was happening. He said, "It's time for a new perspective that looks at the disappointments and defeats you have suffered. What you thought was hopeless might be the door to a whole lot more." Perspective. That was it. That one line made me rethink the entire previous year. All of the disappointments and defeats I suffered were the door to right here. I grew more from those changes than I have from anything else I've experienced or done. So yes, life as I had known it to be ended. But that's how all transitions begin. Something has to end so that the next chapter can begin. There are 3 parts to a transition, and that's part 1, an ending. Once something ends, there's this in-between time. That's part 2. This is where we process the previous chapter we were in and get ready for the next. This part isn't always readily available to us when the time comes. We may have to make room for it, and that's okay. But it's a crucial point that we should take advantage of and embrace. Without it, we constantly play catch-up when we're thrown into something new. Part 3 is a new beginning. Something new comes that would have been impossible without change. You can't have a new beginning without an ending, and vice versa. This is the exciting part. Something new and something great comes from change, if you're looking at it with the right perspective. In the book of Acts, Luke begins by referencing the end of the previous book, which marked the end of Jesus' time with the apostles. Jesus had told the apostles time after time that he was leaving them soon, and they hated that idea. They didn't like to think that there was purpose for them after Jesus leaves. He was their leader. He was their inspiration, their motive. Why would they want something so good to leave them? How is that supposed to be a good change? But he had to go. If he didn't go, his power and presence couldn't have expanded the way it did. The Holy Spirit couldn't have been shown to the apostles. The word couldn't have been made true. You see, every time that there's an end, whether we want it to end or not, it's leading to something new and something greater. The better cannot come until the good is gone. It was good that Jesus came because he was the only one who could redeem the world. But it was even better that he left because then the Holy Spirit could fill the apostles, who could then pass on Jesus' life. Jesus was multiplied billions of times since he ascended into heaven, and it wouldn't have happened unless his time on earth ended. Winter, spring, summer, fall. Elementary school, middle school, high school, college, job. Child, parent, grandparent, great-grandparent. Life is full of transitions. If we ever want to get to the next stage of life, we must be able to let go of some things, even if it's scary, even if it's uncomfortable, even in the unknown. Because that's where God is most at work. That's where our faith is truly tested. Just like Corinthians says, we walk by faith, not by sight. If we believe this, if we have faith in God and His plans, everything's going to be fine. Walk by faith, not by sight. Change is scary because of the unknown, but we don't need to know what will come from change or transitions if we have faith in God and His plans. We don't need a trailer to see what comes next. Whatever comes your way, good or bad, your perspective is what will make or break you. So you decide your perspective. You decide how you want to handle transitions. You decide your outcome. You're going to go through changes anyway, so figure out now how you want to handle them when they come.